dragon lady. We're here today because we wanted to share some plant knowledge with all of you guys and share all our favorite easy beginner plants with you guys. So Devon put together some really cool tips and tricks for beginner plants and what to do, what not to do. And then we brought some plants to show you guys kind of what our favorite plants are. So I'll let Devon talk about how she got into plants, and then I'll talk about how I got into plants.
I started about 4 years ago when I bought my house here in Albuquerque. I just knew I had a vision of what I wanted it to look like. I wanted like clean, bohemian, just green everywhere. So I had no knowledge of plants at all. I just kind of bought a lot, and everything I learned was just from trial and error and watching a lot of YouTube videos and reading a lot about plants. And now it's become my most favorite hobby.
You really didn't? I thought you always were into plants, actually.
No, I had no idea. I had a few succulents at my old house, which I never really took care of, but I just bought them and was like, oh, this is really fun.
So I got into plants because of Devon. So to kind of backtrack a little bit, Devon and I actually worked together for about 4 years, 3 or 4 years. But we got close the last like 2 years working together, and she actually doesn't work with me anymore. It's really sad. But I kind of always liked plants. Like I would go and buy succulents and bamboo, like easy stuff, and I would take it home. But then I'd kill it like within a week because I would water it like every day and then like not put it in sun. But when we were working together and got close, she kind of was telling me like, hey, I like really like plants, and she would show me pictures of her house. And I'm like, I like plants too, but like I suck at it. So she would take me to like local nurseries. Excuse me.
Hi, Venice.
Hi. She would take me to like local nurseries around here and just show me what were easy plants. And she would say like, get that one, it's really easy. I would take it home, and I would constantly be like texting her like, does it look okay? Or I'd send her pictures. And now I'm like super obsessed. It went from like 1 plant to like 65 now. And Devon and I FaceTime each other like every single day about plants, or we'll send pictures if we're at nurseries, just saying like, hey, what do you think about this one? Or if I like one and it's super hard or it looks kind of scary, I'll text her and be like, I don't know, man, what do you think about this plant? She's like, no, I totally got it. So that's kind of how I got started. But we both like a lot of similar things, and plants just is something that we
have definitely.
Yeah.
It's like our thing. I would definitely say that houseplants is an addiction. It's once you have one or a few and you get to see something grow, I think that's the best part about plants is you might get a little tiny something, and getting a new leaf or just seeing it grow and having to transplant it into a new pot. It's just something so special. Yeah. It's like a bunch of babies and watching them grow. So I just love seeing how they transform into something, and they're beautiful. And it's definitely a good talking point, and they're an addiction. So if you're thinking about getting into plants, be ready. There's a bunch of funny plant memes online of like hiding from your spouse or your partner, bringing in new plants into the house because you just can't stop.
You can't. Like Julio is already like, dude, that's enough, and then I'll wait a week and let him like forget about it, and then I'll come back.
And then
we'll go to a sneak it in. Yeah. And I'll like try to blend it in with like the shelf, but he'll still notice. He's like, when did you get that?
Yeah. So we've basically broken down, I've got kind of 4 categories, I think, that break down how to get started. I think the scariest part is I'm gonna kill something, which happens. We've all killed plants. I've killed a bunch. I've got 2 sitting in pots that are dead at my house that I need to just take out. It happens, and it's definitely a learning process. So I'll start with sun. If you want to start getting plants, think about what kind of light you have in your house. Low light would be considered kind of being able to read a book without having a light on comfortably. You're not squinting, you're not looking too closely or anything like that, I guess is a good way to describe it.
I like that. I've never actually liked that.
That's from Plantarina. Plantarina is an amazing
YouTuber. Shout out Plantarina.
Yes.
Like,
I learned
we
so
always
much
watch
from
her.
Or like a bathroom, say, with a really small window, that would be low light. So of course there's great low light plants. You can basically fill any any room in your house, even if you have zero light, you can still have some plants in there. So bright light would be considered like when you have a window and there's light shining down on the floor, that would be like bright direct light. So if sun rays are shining on something, that's going to be bright direct light.
Yeah.
Bright indirect light is, I would say, a north or south facing window. So where you get constant light all day without having those rays actually hit the leaves directly, because some plants like that, some don't.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the greener the plant or like the lighter the plant, they like more sun, right? I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But like the darker the leaves, they do better in like lower light, I've noticed.
Yeah, which is, how plants produce food and how they live. What's it called? Photosynthesis.
Yeah.
So light, if it's got really light leaves, it's gonna want more light because it needs all that to take in to make energy to grow. So say you're at the store and you find a plant that you like, I highly recommend doing a quick search of what it is. If it's got a tag, look it up. If you know you have an apartment with one small bathroom window and you get a fiddle leaf fig, which is probably the most popular plant of 2019 and maybe 2020, it hasn't gone away.
I feel like it hasn't gone away actually.
You might need to rethink.
Yeah.
Because of your light situation, you just don't want to take something home and then have it not thrive. So it really, I do it too. I've had plants for a long time, but if I don't know something or if I don't know its needs, I'll look it up right away and just think, okay, I've got a good spot for this in my house, or not, and I better not, or whatever.
Yeah.
What about you in your light situation? You've got good light in here.
I do. The only place that doesn't is my bedroom, but I have had like a snake plant in there and it's fine, like a ZZ and it's fine, but I try to figure out when I'm buying plants too, like how is it going to do in lighting, because some of them do need a lot more light than others, and I've killed so many plants being like, it'll be fine, and then like it doesn't get light. So then I have to like throw it in a corner that does have light. So try to like think about that too when you're buying plants, because all of them, in reality, all of them do need sunlight, but some of them are okay in like lower light situations.
Yeah.
So just something to think about.
So next I've got water. Obviously plants need water. It is, I think, one of the biggest things when new plant owners get plants, they want to kind of obsess over it and water it too much. And overwatering is a surefire way to kill plants. What happens is it's called root rot. So underwatering is actually better. What I do is I pick a day and I water all of my plants on that one day.
Yeah.
If I have plants that maybe need a little more care, like spritzing, I try to spritz them throughout the week. As I walk by them, I keep a water bottle next to them. But here in New Mexico, if anyone's from New Mexico, you know that we have zero humidity here.
Yeah.
And some plants, especially rare ones, they will most likely want some sort of humidity, and it's just not something we have an abundance of. So really keep that in mind if it says on there, on the tag, or if you look it up that it's a high humidity plant in New Mexico. It's just know that in a few months it's probably not gonna look the same way that when you bought it.
Yeah, I mean, I've even, like when I'm taking a shower, I'll go put the plant like on the counter. So it kind of like is getting that like steam humidity when I'm taking a shower for like the rare plants I have that do need a little more humidity than, other plants. So.
Yeah, I've got 2 ferns in my bathroom because we're showering in there. That's the only shower we use.
I also feel like the water situation, I think just because this is what I used to do before I like knew anything about plants, is I would go and like gun-ho just water everything, and sometimes you kind of have to read your plants and just check the soil and see like, do they truly need water, or am I just watering them just because it's Tuesday or whatever. Because some of them I've noticed are thirstier than others. Like I'm like, I just watered you and you are like dry and you want water, and your plants will talk to you. They'll let you know if they need water because they'll get kind of like droopy, or some of them will even start turning like a crispy brown. Yeah. Just depending on like the plant type. But some of them could go, like I was just telling Devon about my spider plant. That thing hasn't got water in like 4 weeks. I'm like, how are you alive? Yeah. But the moment I water him, it's like he gets like the water's just sitting in there, and he immediately just starts turning yellow, and I'm like, okay, I guess you just don't need water. So listen to your plants, but kind of have a routine like Devon is saying. Harder plants though, I will say, are more finicky, like the fiddle leaf fig. That thing does not like to be on a watering schedule. You just have to kind of watch it and see, because I tried to do a watering schedule with it and it did not like it. So just pay attention to your plants. A good thing to have is a water meter. They sell them at like Home Depot or Lowe's, probably at your local garden store too. But it's kind of a good thing to have. You'll just put it and check if the roots are, it'll tell you if it's moist or dry, and that's kind of a good indicator. Or you could stick your finger in there,
touch the top
and check. But
and kind of stick. Some of them will say let the first inch or two dry out, meaning that there's still water at the bottom. So if you just kind of tap the top, like probably all of these could use a little bit of water.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I need
it's watering day for both of us.
Yeah.
And some of them, like one of the plants we'll talk about, an easy plant, a pothos. I'm sure if you've seen a plant, if you've seen a house plant either on TV or at a store or anywhere, it's most likely a pothos. It's a beautiful trailing plant. It's really viney and pretty, so easy, great starter plant. The leaves will actually kind of start to wilt a little bit, and that's a good indicator of, oh, okay, this plant has got to get watered. So then I've got, what else? Oh, so there's different kind of growing seasons for plants, just like outside there are different growing seasons for plants. Summertime plants are going to need more water, there's more sun out. Wintertime, less sun, less water, less growth. Plants can sometimes grow year-round. I've got plants that'll sprout a new leaf, but you can usually kind of tell when the growing season is because you'll have a lot of growth. So just kind of keep that in mind too when picking out plants, or just kind of your schedule, or if you get some plants in December and they're just not doing anything, don't worry, it's probably just stagnant for a little bit.
Yeah.
We have hard water here in New Mexico. We've got a lot of extra elements in our water that plants don't necessarily like. I'm not one who filters water I love my plants to death, but I don't filter my water or anything before I water them. You can kind of let water settle if you just have a few. You can fill up, this is also a tip I got from Plantarina. You can put water in a little watering pail, let it sit for maybe an hour or two, which lets everything settle, and then you can water with that. Underwater rather than overwater. You can kind of save a plant from underwatering rather than over. And just be cautious of humidity if you don't live in a humid area. And I think that's about it.
Oh, one thing about watering is make sure your pot has drainage holes, because I see a lot of people, pots are really pretty. Like this one, for example, I got this pot at, I think, Walmart, because it was like $2. It's pretty in ceramic, but it doesn't have drainage holes. So I actually leave them in the nursery pots, and I know Devon does this too. That way when it waters, it can drain out, because if it doesn't drain out, the water is just going to sit in there and then it's going to get root rot. And when you have root rot, it's kind of I feel it's almost impossible to bring that plant back, because they're just already like gone.
I've never been able to save a plant from that.
So
even if you let it dry out completely, it's going to struggle somehow.
If I do repot, like these ones have the water trays, so usually the water will just drain in there, and then it's almost like self-watering, I guess. So if the plant needs the water, it knows when to like pull it.
Yeah. And if you leave a plant in a pot like this, and you pull it out, you can actually already kind of see some of the roots sticking out a little bit, because roots will search for water. Especially if it's underwatered and you have water sitting at the bottom. They want to survive. They want to find a way to keep growing. So they will search for water if they need to.
Yeah.
So my next topic is soil. Although I've been having and taking care of plants for 4 years, I don't make my own soil. If you watch other plant YouTubers, Plantarina, Rachel Ost, she's in Australia, they make their own soil. I haven't gotten into that realm yet. I do when I go to the store and I need soil. I try to find something on the more natural side.
Yeah.
I don't want they have those fertilizer bubbles or those self-watering bubbles. They're little pellets that keep water. those are great for tomatoes and things outside, but those might not be good for a houseplant who might need to kind of dry out a little bit before watering. So that maybe was something I'll get into at one point, but I that's not something I do now.
And I'm on the cheaper end. Like, I just go by like Miracle Grow from Home Depot, but I do get the moisture control one because I've noticed that one will dry out a little faster than like the regular ones that hold on to water.
Yeah.
Because I like to dry out my plants as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because my house, I mean, I have, and that's another thing about watering is your sunlight will kind of play into how often you should water. So if you're, and I'll tell you, I killed a snake plant because I had it in my bathroom and I had it on a watering schedule, but I wasn't paying attention to it not having sun, so the water was still, it was still
sitting.
moist.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, it's Tuesday, watering time. So then I would water it and it died because there was not enough sunlight for it to completely dry out. So just pay attention to that as far as watering too.
Also fertilizing, I also don't fertilize. I'm a natural girl, so I want to make sure that I'm not putting anything weird, anything unnatural in my plants. Some things are more natural based. I have never used fertilizer. My plants are totally fine. Some plant people say fertilizing is absolutely necessary. I've been totally fine. So yeah. I don't know. You fertilize sometimes.
I do sometimes, but like I've heard people say like it's fertilizing season, and I'm like I don't have time for a fertilizing season. Mm-hmm. I just will once in a blue moon I'll be like I'm gonna give them plant food. Mm-hmm. And I got it from one of the local nurseries, so it's not like Miracle Grow or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was something that was recommended by a nursery that was like, hey, this is what we feed our plants, and I mean they do great. So I was like, I'm gonna try it. Yeah. And I think I gave you a little bit.
I haven't tried it. I'm sorry.
But okay. But I don't I'm not on a fertilizing schedule. Just once in a blue moon I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna give it some plant food, and it does make a little bit of a difference because the plants that I have given plant food to,
that's what you said.
Yeah, they do.
You
grow.
Said the ones that you fertilized did really well. So,
but you kind of have to be careful with it because I have heard of people over fertilizing and it actually burns your plants. So just do it in moderation if you are gonna do that. But I mean, I'm not an expert fertilizer. My mom was the one that told me about it, so I was like, I'm gonna try it and see how it works, and it helped. But I don't do it regularly. I just once in a while I'll pull it out.
So I put in the soil category repotting. I think that's a big thing. Bri and I have kind of not differing, but we do things a little bit different. Yeah. I keep my plants in nursery pots just because I have so many plants. If I were to try to buy a new pot for every single plant, I would go crazy. Even if I try to, ceramic pots can be even something little like this. I know you said you got it for $2. Mm-hmm. They can be $10 to $12. Oh yeah. I have almost 100 plants at my house. I think I just hit my over 90. I can't be getting a bunch of pots. So, and they grow so much and then I gotta repot them again. Yeah. So I keep my things in nursery pots. I don't mind how they look. Bri, her aesthetic is so pretty. She's got all of them in neutral colors, so it looks beautiful. But when you're repotting, you don't want to bring a plant home from the nursery and immediately put it in a brand new pot. You're going to stress it out. I know the look of this probably doesn't look very pretty. And so something like this, just putting it in a pot you would never know. Yeah. It looks nice, but give it some time. It's kind of like goldfish maybe? Yeah. When you bring them home and you put them in their new environment, they're gonna kind of seize up a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a cat. You bring a cat, you don't want to put it in shock and be giving you a bath the first day. They're gonna probably scratch your eyes out. You want to let them ease in, and it's kind of like what you're saying with plants. You want to get them acclimated to your environment, the sun, and you don't want to freak them out. Yeah.
So if you are so compelled to transfer them, or you want to cover up that nursery pot, some of them are orange, some of them aren't very pretty. Get a basic pot and just plop it in there until you kind of give it some time to figure it out. Also, you don't want to repot too much. You don't really need to. Yeah. Plants have been in their nursery pot. Even something little like this has probably been growing for 6 months to a year in here. It's comfortable in its little home. You don't want to put it in something that's too big. Plants don't like, if you're gonna be repotting, do 2 inches more than what the pot plant, what it is. This is a 4-inch pot. So if you wanted to repot it, do a 6-inch.
Yeah.
But if you were to put this 4-inch in a 10-inch pot, it's going to just, it's not going to do much. It might not die. It's just not going to get big like this in a couple months. Just ease into it. And I think that that's really important because you just don't need to, I know it's exciting, but a little plant in a big pot does not mean a bigger plant.
I mean, like Devon, I pot him if I'm like, okay, like this one I brought home and potted because he was kind of coming out of his pot, but I didn't do it any bigger than what he came in. So I think this pot is like a 4-inch if you do the inside diameter or whatever. But I honestly, when I repot them, I try to leave them in the big chunk of soil that they were in originally, and I just kind of will put a little extra soil. But I try to leave them in the nursery pot as much as possible. Like Devon too, that's like the thing that has killed most of my plants is I mean, in the beginning, I'd always tell you, like, I repotted it, and you're like, yeah,
stop repotting
don't do that.
It doesn't want that.
No, so I stopped doing it. When I bring my plants home, and I'm sure you probably do something similar, I like won't water them. I won't change the pot. I won't add soil or food. I just bring them, pick the spot I'm gonna put them in, leave them there for a couple days. Don't fuss with them. And then once they get the feel for it and it looks like they're getting comfortable, then I'll be like, okay, maybe I can, water them. Or if they're like super, like I bought a Monstera and it was super root bound, which root bound is basically like the
roots are like all coiled up at the bottom.
And there's like basically no soil in there anymore because the roots are just like growing crazy. So I bought one and I could tell it was root bound because the roots were just coming out. So I was like, okay, I have to pot this one. But I put it in a little bit bigger and I just put a little soil, and I didn't water it for a couple days. I just let it kind of set and get acclimated, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna water it. But just listen to your plants, honestly. Like it sounds weird, but your plants let you know what they want as long as you're paying attention to them.
They are they're living things. So they're going to, if they don't like what you've done, they're going to tell you. So when you do repot, just put a little bit on the bottom, depending on how big. If you go from, this is what, 6-inch? So if you go from a 4 to a 6, you're going to need to put some on the bottom. When you pull it out of its nursery pot, you'll take it out, and then I kind of break it up a little bit. I don't like take out big chunks. But then I put some on the bottom, on the sides, dig it around, water it, and then put it back in its spot and leave it. So then the next one I've got is Spirit. I think that there's a lot of fear around plants.
Yeah.
People are like, I hear all the time, oh, I can't keep anything alive. I have a black thumb.
Somebody even told me they killed fake plants. So I was like, I don't know how you do that, but okay, that sounds scary. But
so I think that there's just, if you do your research, and you have a little bit of of trial period, you will be fine. Give it some time. Listen to them, check on them, but don't fuss. I think that's another thing, is if you are checking them too often or worried about them and you're moving them around your house, trying different light, or if you're watering too much, or if you're just kind of worried about them, they'll be fine. Leave them alone for a little bit, get them acclimated to your house, and then see how it goes. I wouldn't buy a bunch at one time. Cool. What do you want to start with? This one?
So yeah, let's go ahead and start with the snake plant. And all of these plants, there are different variations of the plants. I guess, what do you call them, like species, right?
Yeah.
So this is a snake plant. These are probably like the easiest plants, I feel. You can forget to water it for like a month and it would probably still be fine.
Yeah.
The only thing with these, I've noticed personally, I don't know if you have this, like if you've seen this, but they like their soil to like completely dry out before I water them. I actually killed one, which is that's why I'm saying like don't get mad because I killed a snake plant like the other day and they're supposed to be easy, so even we kill plants all the time. But because I wasn't paying attention to the watering and the soil, he still was moist, but I was trying to stick to my schedule and I just kept giving him water and giving him water. And I went one day and he was completely yellow and just flopped over. I was like, there's no bringing this plant back. And he was one of my favorites, so I was sad. But these are super, super easy. They do good in low light situations, but they will thrive in like medium, higher light. I have this guy in like medium light and he's grown so tall. He was tiny when I first got him.
Can I pet you? See, I'm friend. I'm good. I'm a good guy. I'm friend. Hi. Oops.
Okay. So this is the Pothos, which is this the golden Pothos, right?
Yeah, this might be a jade.
It kind of looks like a jade, actually.
Yeah.
So there's so many types of Pothos. I actually didn't like Pothos at first for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. But then like, I think I saw like one of yours and I was like, oh my god, they look so pretty. And now I'm like obsessed with them because they, like if you hang them, they look so cool, just like trailing down. But these guys are super easy too. They grow like out of control. This guy, like, I mean, you can see and I've trimmed him already to get cuttings. But they, I can probably go like 3 or 4 weeks without watering this guy and he's totally fine.
And this is one that the leaves will kind of start to just droop a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think we didn't really talk about it before, but plants will use their leaves up to the point where they need them and they will turn yellow and they will fall off. And that is totally fine. That's what they're supposed to do. Nothing's going to stay this perfect forever. Like I can even see one of them back here is going to turn yellow and it's going to fall off. You just pick it off, you throw it out, it's totally fine. Does not mean anything's wrong. They just kind of go through their life cycle.
They're just like shedding, I feel.
Yeah. And so you don't want to pick off leaves too early if they are starting yellow and they're kind of hard to peel off because the plant will suck all the nutrients from that leaf, use it, and then you can take it off. But a Pothos is the very first plant that I got, which is the one that I kind of mentioned earlier when I knew nothing about them. It is a golden Pothos. I think this one is the jade. The golden Pothos has a little flecks of yellow in the leaves. It's so beautiful, such a perfect plant. Like kind of set it and forget it, water it once a week. I think the vining of plants, hanging and vining plants they're not as common. Oh, I mean, they're common, but it's hard to find a bunch of varieties of them. Yeah. And that's why Pothos are so nice because they do come in a bunch of varieties and they're really easy. It's a common plant, but it's still so beautiful. So the next one we'll talk about is another trailing vining plant. This is a philodendron. Philodendron is a huge species of plant. So not all of them are trailing like this. Some of them are just big foliage, but this is a trailing one. This is a minkin, right?
Philodendron Mikan. Which this actual like species of the philodendron is kind of rare. I ordered him online, but he has this really pretty like velvety foliage.
Yeah, it's almost kind of red. I don't have one of these. I've got a regular like heartleaf philodendron. So there's a ton of different species of them. But these are really easy. They are commonly confused with Pothos. And the main thing that you can tell the difference is they kind of leave these little like leftover parts. But they are very, very similar and just as easy as a Pothos to take care of. I have one in my bathroom. It's doing really well. The colors can vary and they're just super, super pretty. I love anything trailing. I think I just think they look good anywhere.
I would say the care for these are probably similar to the Pothos as far as like potting and
lighting
and just
same kind of deal.
Yeah. But they're super easy. Same thing. I could probably go like 3 to 4 weeks without watering them and they'd be fine.
Also do not like to be repotted.
No.
It's hard to show you kind of what the bottom looks like, but like the arrow leaf that I had earlier, when you saw me just like pick it up and it's like a big chunk. These have all sorts of individual little they're not like a base with a bunch of roots. They're more spread out and those are really hard to gather up when you're repotting. So if you must repot it, it's got to be completely dry. If it's at all wet, all of that soil will break apart.
And it's so hard.
And you will be trying to shove pieces of your pothos or your philodendron into spots, and the chances of it not making it are a lot larger. So if you must repot, do it totally dried out.
Yeah, most plants, if you
like that.
Pull them up, they come out in a chunk and the roots are in there. That's, if you are going to repot, the best time to repot when they're all dried out, because you can just pull it out in one chunk, as compared to how Devon was saying, if it's wet, you're going to have a giant crusty mess everywhere, and I've done that. It's not fun.
So, and you look at your plant a week after you did that, and you'll know right away, oops, I shouldn't have done that. I should have waited. And the last, this is going to be like in our faces, but the last beauty we have.
This is like everybody's like dream plant.
But yes, this is a Monstera, which is actually a split leaf philodendron. They're the same thing. You can tell because they've got these beautiful big heart leaves they're called fenestrations. That's the actual holes in the leaves. So they're so pretty. I'm sure you've seen tons of pictures of them trailing up. This is just, I don't know if this is I don't want to get too much into the species of them, but the deliciosa, the big leaves that have a ton of holes, those are deliciosa. This might be more like a Borsigiana species, but without getting into too much detail. So pretty, also really easy. It looks intimidating. It's not. What's cool about these is the new growth here that you can see kind of splitting out. Whenever a leaf has fenestrations, the chances that the little baby that's popping off of it will also have fenestrations. The more like flat leaves will be flat leaves that come from it. So obviously the bigger the plant is, the more fenestrations it'll have, the more chances it'll have more fenestrated leaves, which is kind of like the point of having a Monstera. They're beautiful anyways, but the holes in them just make it such a special plant. Also let it totally dry out before you water it again.
They sweat too.
Yeah, they like get juicy.
Don't be surprised. Someone got one and they were like, is it normal for the Monstera to like be crying? I'm like, yeah, no, they totally do that.
It looks so cool. It'll get like these will have like a big drip of I think it's water. I don't actually even know what it is.
I would say it's probably water.
And it gets like a big drip of water, and it just looks so cool.
Yeah, so that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We are gonna do more videos, maybe like about propagating, or maybe we'll do like a cool one with us like actually repotting the plant, so you guys can see kind of how we do that, how we clean the leaves, maybe just a bunch of other cool, fun like plant stuff. So just tune in next time, guys.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Yeah.